All right, I'm joined by Steve Nelson of Rolling Wave Planning. Steve, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Randy.
I'm pumped to have you, man. Been wanting to do it for a while. I want to dig into Rolling Wave Planning and what that is about. But before we get to that, why don't you give me a little bit of background on yourself? Fill me in on where you've been.
Okay, well, I'm trying to figure out how far to go back.
I didn't want to know from birth.
Well, I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps, and I tell people whenever I have one-to-ones with them that it was like the family business. My dad was in the Marines for 20 years. He met my mom when she was in the Marines. She got out. I've got 8 brothers and sisters. Of that, 7 of us went in the Marine Corps, and my 3 sisters married Marines. It's like the family business. That's where I start my story. I knew it wasn't a lifelong career for me because it was too much like living at home. So I had to get out and prove that I could make it on my own.
Yeah.
So I got out, went to college here at USM, got a degree in computer science. I was a programmer for 5-7 years. In that time, I learned project management, and it was one of those intuitive things. And I enjoyed doing it. So I went back to USM, got my MBA, and then I got my first management job. I was working at a company over here in Westbrook, the data center for credit unions. I was there for about 14 years, and it was great because I really learned project management there, and I just truly enjoyed doing it. Towards the end of the pandemic, it was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do next, because I never wanted to be laid off or anything like that. So I was like, I'd love to run my own business. So I decided to give it a shot. I bought into a franchise, and that's still in the mix. I'm still working that. But then I decided I got to figure out how to make this last long enough that other business can really get up and going. So what can I do? Well, I'm going to lean back into project management. So it was one of those things. Your podcast introduced me to a general contractor that I'm working with these days. And it truly is, because I didn't know that she was a general contractor until I watched the podcast. We got together and started working, and I found I could help her with some of the things she was doing. I've been working with her ongoing for about 2 years now. But in that, I'm also learning how to help others. After the first 6 months, I made it a business and thought, hey, what else can I do here? So yeah, that's how I got to Rolling Wave Planning.
That's incredible. First of all, thank you for your service. I did not realize the time you spent in the Marine Corps. Yeah. Very cool. I feel like there's a million things I could dig into there. I also did not realize that you connected with Melinda, or connected the dots on her being a general contractor through my podcast. We all know each other through BNI. I thought maybe that relationship or something else happened that led to the relationship you have with her on that side of things. It's very cool to hear that the podcast introduced that idea to you. That's the thing I love about the podcast, man. So
yeah, absolutely.
Never
thanks
know.
for bringing us together, because that's been a huge help for me.
Well, that's very cool. So I want to dig into all the project management stuff, but I feel like the idea of project management is this very vague thing, and people say I'm like a project manager. So what does that mean to manage a project?
Okay, so I agree. I used to think everybody knows what a project manager is, but I'm finding that not everybody does. So a project is something that typically it's some sort of investment, and it has a start, finish, and there's a certain scope to it, and there's a certain cost to it. One example that I like to give is if you're to build a house, or maybe even a deck, that's going to be a project. It's a one-time thing. If I go to my job and I'm answering phones all day long, that is not a project. That is just operational stuff. So what I do as a project manager is I help businesses through the process of project management so that their investment pays off in the end. We bring to life whatever their idea is.
Now, it could be anything though, right? Are we focused on tech-specific things?
So my background is in IT. And that to me is just very natural. The fact that I'm helping a general contractor, I could help just about anybody with their project, because the skills required to manage a project are transferable across many industries. Professional project managers understand this. You need a background in whatever that industry is in order to be successful. Before working with Melinda, I didn't know anything about her world. I could envision what it would take to do a kitchen renovation, but she brings that knowledge of, well, you got to think about this, you got to think about that, that I just can't come up with. Now, I could do that all day long with IT stuff, but that's where working directly with her, we can work well as a team, and I can help her with her whatever she's doing.
So then that gets to the point of like, you can help anyone at that point do anything if you're working collaboratively with that person, and
theoretically, yes. And what I like to tell people is, I can help Melinda. She is a solopreneur that's bringing in general contractors. But if somebody else like Landry French came along and said, hey, we need a project manager, they're looking for somebody with building construction experience. They're not looking for Steve Nelson with IT experience, because they expect a level of understanding when that person comes in. So that's how I try to help those smaller businesses with their project management needs. And if a much bigger company needs my help, we'll figure out how that would work. But IT related, I could help you all day long.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a lot of people that do what you do? It sounds like what you do is fairly unique to me, like where you can just work with a very small business owner on very specific projects. I don't know if that is out there. There's people that probably have project managers on their team that they hire as a full-time position. It's a totally different thing for these bigger companies. But in terms of someone needing help with a very specific project on the small end, are you one of the only people that does that?
Yeah. I think that when it comes to smaller businesses, they don't necessarily have the funds to hire a full-time project manager. That's where I can certainly help them. In the smaller companies, it all depends on what it is. I see a lot of property restoration companies that have project managers. Now, there could be a difference in that I am designated as a professional project manager. I went through training and I had so many hours, and I took a 4-hour test, and Project Management Institute said, you've passed, you are a project management professional from our designation. Whereas many people who are designated as project managers may not be professional. They may just have had that title given to them. They may do some of the similar things, but it's not necessarily at the same level.
Yeah, makes sense. On the website, you talk about, I think it's portfolio management versus project management. Can you explain the difference between those things?
Certainly. For my last company, what they wanted me to do was help build a project management office. So at that point, what I am doing is I'm managing all of their projects. So we're not just doing a single project, we're managing all of their projects, making sure they have resources aligned to cover the projects for the next year, and making sure that the projects work together to not only cover their tactical things that they need to do, but also the strategic things they're trying to accomplish during the year. So it's just a different type of planning, managing a lot of projects instead of just one.
Is it better than manage a portfolio? I assume more lucrative for you as a business owner?
I have a lot more fun that way, but either one of them works. What I try to do is be helpful to whomever is in front of me. If they've got one project that they need help with, I'm happy to help them with their one project. If I have a larger company that wants to set up a project management office, I'd love to do that too.
Do you have a golden goose referral? Like someone that you'd love to be connected to, or like the template client for you?
What I love to do is I love to get connected with the trusted business advisors, whether it's the accountant, the banker, the business attorney, or the business lending person, the person who has those conversations with the business owner. If that business owner is struggling, then hey, that might be a good way to introduce me.
Yeah. How about the name Rolling Wave Planning? Where'd that come from?
So if you look at the project management body of knowledge, they have this concept in there of rolling wave planning. And what it means is that, let's say you start out on a 3-year project and you can't plan out the entire thing, but you can plan out phase 1. As you go through phase 1, you start planning phase 2. And as you get into that, you start planning phase 3. So it rolls along like a wave of more information that's revealed to you and you understand it better, you can plan for that. So that's where the term came from. I looked and it wasn't trademarked or anything. So I was like, hey, that's what I'm doing. I am helping a business owner start with what they know, plan what they know. And as we learn more, we're going to plan more and work to make this a great project.
I love that name because it does have the meaning in what you do. I just assumed it had something to do with, we're obviously being in Maine and New England, there's this coastal aspect, and a lot of names for things have to do with the ocean and waves. So you have that part of things. It fits with the geography of where we are plus what you do. I think that's awesome.
Thanks.
You mentioned that you're still involved in the franchise that we talked about, and that's Schooley Mitchell. Can you explain what Schooley Mitchell is all about?
Yeah, sure. It's a cost reduction consulting firm. So I help businesses to save money on their operating expenses, things like waste, telecom, small package shipping, merchant services. There's 15 different cost categories that we consult to. We help identify ways for them to save, negotiate with their current vendor, or bring in other vendors to bid on the business. But we also look for any billing errors that might be happening so the business owner can get that money back, or any services they're paying for that they don't necessarily need. And the example that I give is, well, maybe you've got a business with 10 extra lines. Well, you're paying for those 10 lines, but do you need them? And if you can cut that cost, you can invest it back in your business. So
exactly. Yeah, phone lines are probably an easy one to get people. God, I mean, does anyone really have phone lines at this point? I'm sure some companies have that stuff they're just paying for, and it could be done a different way and save them a bunch of money. So is there other things besides phone lines that are very common? Like, to me, one thing that comes up is trash. I don't know if that's something that you deal with.
Waste is definitely one, and it's not just the garbage or recycling. It could be anything that you need to pay for to remove from your site. For example, hazardous material like, an automotive, someone who's fixing automobiles, maybe they've got oil and hydraulic. Yeah, at this age, it starts to go every now and again. But it's the gasoline, the oil, the hydraulic fluid that might need to be disposed of. It could be, dental offices have special types of waste.
Who's an ideal person to be connected for you on that side of your business?
I would say the accountant, the controller, somebody who is managing a budget would also be a good person to be referred to, because they may need to save money in the upcoming year. If we talk and there's savings there, then maybe it makes sense.
Yeah. So the thing I always thought was interesting about Schooley Mitchell was how you get paid. And I don't know if I want to get too far into the weeds, but it blew my mind up front. But you don't get paid unless you save money. The way you get paid is a percentage of the money you save for the people that you work with. So it's almost like a no-brainer to at least have a conversation with you. And if you can create some savings, then it's worth whatever money that you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the contingency model. We don't get paid until there's savings. And at that point, then we just share in the savings for 3 years. We do have another model for those who are starting up and don't have a service. We can just do a fee for service. So either way, we try to help save money for whoever our client is.
And it goes beyond identifying these potential savings. Like, you can help people execute on these things. I feel like, hey, I got to get rid of 10 lines. You're like, I'm going to help you get rid of those 10 lines. Because I could see someone being like, you got to get rid of these lines. And then the overwhelmed business owner is like, okay, I'll take that piece of paper and throw it on the side of their desk. But you're actually facilitating those things.
That is part of what we try to do. Not only do we try to help save money, but we're also trying to help save time. We save time in a number of different ways, whether it is negotiating on behalf of the client, but also when it comes to the implementation. So if the decision is to put a different phone system in, we're there to help with making sure that that happens so that it's not just put onto the business owner.
Schooley Mitchell and Rolling Wave, I feel like those go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, and that was one of the things I thought about when I invested in the Schooley Mitchell business. Was not only is it building relationships, and those are really important to me, but it's also that small project management component, making sure that whatever we're doing is implemented properly. So yeah, it goes hand in hand for me.
Yes, absolutely. So for you in your professional life, what's been some of the keys to your success? Anything you'd be open to sharing?
I would say that BNI has been a huge help for me. Why BNI? From my perspective, I came into business knowing I needed a network, and I would say that this has been a godsend for me. It's given me people in my chapter who I can work with and help. I am an ambassador as well, and I'm able to help 3 other chapters. Plus, I'm also getting out there and going to socials and subbing every now and again. I meet so many people, and the opportunity to help them with their business is just wonderful. Plus, I have all of those people who I can help, my friends, my family, and other people with whatever they need. So yeah, BNI has been a huge help for me.
I'm always hesitant to bring up BNI on the podcast, like, because I feel like 1 out of every 4 podcasts that I do is someone that I know through BNI, which is ultimately how we got connected. But like, it has just been so great for my business and yours, and just the different people that I've met from all over the region, the state. It's just an amazing network of people trying to help each other's business and do business together. If someone asks me for a referral for something and I don't know where to go, like, BNI Maine is that first place that I go. It's just such an awesome resource.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for small business owners, like general advice for success that you ever share?
Well, just having a clear vision of where you're headed and get people involved. Being a Mainer, I like to think I can do it all myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have become aware that tapping into other people's strengths is really the key. So instead of me trying to figure out how to do a mortgage, I'm going to come to you. I'm not going to sit there and kill myself to try to figure out what's the best rate here. I'm going to come to somebody who knows, and that's what's going to work. So as a business owner, find those people who can help you bring this thing to life.
No, that is good advice. And that gets back to BNI. We're all constantly leaning on people for things that we don't specialize.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all good advice, and would love to, if anyone's listening to this, we'll be sure to share your contact information. Is there a website? What's your website?
rollingwaveplanning.com.
So I'll make sure we direct people to that.
Thank you.
As we're wrapping up, we've had a conversation about something in the past. I don't know if you remember, but this is off the business topic.
Sure.
You had at least one daughter that did travel softball?
I do have one daughter. We started softball a long time ago, and it's fun because in Little League, I was a coach. At one point, I was like, she needs something more than I can give her. I played baseball until 8th grade. So I didn't have tons of skill. We got into travel ball, and we've been doing it, 6, 7 years now. It's a really cool environment for these girls to develop relationships. Some teams are really good, and some teams are great relationship builders.
How old's your daughter?
She is 17, turning 18 in November. So
we're starting to go down that path. We're going through an organization called Maine Thunder. Have you heard of?
We're part of Thunder for a few years. Yeah, it's good organization. Yeah,
great organization. But it's, my eyes are just being open to it now. My daughter's 12, so just a little bit younger than yours. I did not realize what a well-oiled machine these travel teams are. I mean, the tryout structures and the communications, and it's like, I see the guys that's running it, or the guy that's running it, and I'm just impressed. I'm like, this is what your job is. You obviously love softball, and this is what you do every day, and you found a way to help all these kids, impact these families, and make it your business. We ski in the winter. I don't know how that's going to happen, but we'll figure it out.
We can certainly talk more about it at some point.
It's just one of those things where you start talking to people and you share a little bit about your personal life. You have a daughter that is just a little bit ahead of me, and it's just one of those things that's fun. And
a lot of fun.
It all just goes by so fast.
Oh, it does. It does. Yeah, we're looking at colleges now, so it goes by fast.
Yeah, that's insane. Anything else you want to share about the business?
I am just having a ton of fun. Love to help people. I am certainly here to help. If I can help in any way, just let me know.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll just leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. We'll talk soon, pal.
All right.